which is wellness tips for goal achievements. And so my company mantra is expect great things to happen. It's an attitude. If you're not expecting great things to happen, you're typically expecting horrible things to happen, and typically you get what you expect, with all due respect. So I am a very goal-oriented person, very high energy. You're going to find that out here very shortly. And I just wanted to offer words of encouragement because of something that I understood and uncovered last night. So I understand that the Rotary is about service above self. And so when I began to comb through your website to figure out, what can I talk about to make sure that the message that I have for the audience today, it connects us and you can walk away with something that you can begin to put into your volunteerism and the things that you do extremely well, I was overwhelmed with what I saw last night. So when I went to the About Us page, I saw community services. So I just selected that button. Well, let me see what the different community services that they offer. Then I saw 17 of them. And they were in depth and detail on all the things that you're doing from a community service perspective. And then I saw the international services, 18 of those. Youth services, that was demonstrated this morning with all of your give backs. And then the vocational services, the club services, and of course your, the other one there, excuse me, Rotary Foundation. And I love that video, the 6 areas of focus. I don't know who put that together, but it was phenomenal. But it began to just resonate with me that if you're often giving of yourself to help others, you also need energy so you can continue to push and move forward. Would that be a fair assessment? And so Brett handed out some handouts earlier. Hopefully you have one. And you can just grab that, and that's going to take you through the next few slides. And this morning my goal is to encourage you and to offer you some information here. And so one of the things, if you guys know about me, I'm a U.S. Army veteran. Any veterans in the house? All right. Navy, what branch? Navy, yes. So Navy, Army, I know there's always a little clash there, some right? And so I thought we would do something different this morning to celebrate what you do. Is I created a little chant, right? That I would like for you to follow me on here. And let me grab my handout here. And so your LJGT, is that correct?
Yep.
LJGT. So could you join me in a chant and just sort of follow my lead here? So LJGT, 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 LJGT. Doesn't that feel fun? Yeah, that's who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Let's give yourself a hand because you guys did this phenomenal work. Not only in your communities. Can you hear me okay without the microphone?
Yeah.
Not only in the communities are you doing wonderful things in communities in which you live and work, but around this wonderful state and around the country and around the world. The imprint that you're making is phenomenal. And I just applaud your efforts. So my goal is to help you with that this morning. So the first topic I would like to talk about is called mindfulness. And so mindfulness is just being consciously aware. And mindfulness is saying that I am right now, I'm present, I'm in the moment. So right now the time is 8:09. We're at the La Jolla Hotel in La Jolla, and mentally you're here, opposed to being somewhere else. So mindfulness really helps you stay focused on your goals, because our brains are running left and right, in and out. Research even suggests that most of the time we're mentally in the past. We're thinking about things in the past that we can't change, or we're thinking about the future, which isn't promised. And so mindfulness is really important in terms of you're going to achieve your goals in life. Has anyone ever been driving down the freeway?
Oh, yeah.
And just cruising along, and you just mindless, just floating. You're like, wait a minute, how did I get here? Right? How did that happen? So again, can I have some water, please? I tell you, it is really important to be able to, thank you, to be mindful and present in the moment. Excuse me. The next topic here I would like to share with you. It says, trust the rhythm of your soul. It knows the way. So it says, trust yourself with yourself. So what I mean by that is that sometimes it would be fair to say that we have reasonable doubt, self-doubt more importantly. Every time we begin to achieve a new goal, Alex's goals, we heard that? There is a level of self-doubt. How can I do that? The fact of the matter is that you and us, we have been achieving goals our entire lives. So when I say trust yourself with yourself, go back to your historical memory and remember that, hey, if I was able to do it back then, I can do it in the future. It's just a new set of goals. And every time we look at a goal, because we haven't accomplished it before, it creates some level of doubt. In this whole word about self-talk, I bring it up, and self-talk is that conversation you have with yourself, to yourself, about yourself. Like no one hears this but you. But if you had to rate your self-talk, red, yellow, or green, red meaning that majority of your self-talk is negative, yellow, you're a hybrid, 50-50, green, your self-talk, majority of that is positive, how would you rate your self-talk? And how you talk to yourself really tells you how you're going to see yourself or even be in your future. The conversation that you have in your head. So I encourage you to trust yourself knowing, again, you've been accomplishing your goals your entire life. And yes, it's okay to have some level of self-doubt, but just don't remain there. Continue to move forward. Trust the process, trust the system, and collaborate with others that's going to help you accomplish your goals. The next one, it says fear. It says it's okay to fail, but it's not okay to give up. So just by a show of hands, how many of us have failed before? Interesting, right? But it's really amazing. Often we fear failure. But in order to be successful, you have to fail. It's part of the process. Now, none of us like it. You know, I'm not a fan of it, but the fact of the matter, it happens. And this word, fear, F-E-A-R, fear represents false evidence appearing real. False meaning it's a fallacy. It's not true. Evidence appearing real, these are depictions that I play in my mind and I think of worst case scenario. And then unfortunately, I do nothing or I do not move forward because of what might happen. I've learned to embrace fear and tackle it. Of course, anyone saw the football game last weekend?
It was
right?
great.
It was a great game, right? Okay, one person. Okay.
New England went down. It was great.
But in that sort of scenario, at least the way I think, the goal of the offense is to prevent you from scoring in any sports. Would that be fair? All right. The goal of the goal of the defense is to prevent you from scoring.
We're with you there.
The goal of the offense is to score. Right? So anytime we set a goal in life, you have to anticipate opposition. Right? Because your opposition doesn't want you to score. But when you score in life, you impact your sphere of influence. And with the Rotary Club, your influence is huge. It's international. So every time you set up a new goal, you can almost anticipate some form of opposition. Because your mission, your goal, the calling on the life of many of you is phenomenal. And the opposition doesn't want you to accomplish that. So anticipate it. Don't fear it. Bring it head on. Because once you push forward and go beyond the opposition, there lies the sunshine and the rainbows because you've accomplished your goals. The next one is rhythm. It says, enter your run the day runs you. Either you run the day or the day runs you. Find your rhythm. So I'm from a small town in Missouri called Poplar Bluff. Anyone heard of it?
What?
One person. Wow.
Down by St. Genevieve.
Did you live in the downtown area?
Yeah.
Frank, they've got good barbecue, pal.
Great barbecue. Edith's barbecue. And it's a really small town in Poplar Bluff. But back in the day, we used to play jump rope. And I loved playing jump rope when I was a kid. Now, when I was playing with some of the other neighborhood kids, jumping to their rhythm became very difficult, right? I'm trying to like, come on, guys, help me out here. And I often would stumble and fall. But when I grabbed the rope on my own and began to jump, I had a much better rhythm. And so I often find out that when I enter a new organization or begin to work with someone new, it's sometimes awkward to get in, to fit in with that particular group. But I'm here to let you know your rhythm, who you are today, you're good enough. You don't need anyone's approval. Our differences, our uniqueness is what makes us special. But sometimes we're so often trying to fit into other groups and cliques and it doesn't work and it's sort of awkward, and then we begin to have negative self-talk because we don't quite measure up with him or her. But your uniqueness, that's the special sauce. So I encourage you to be yourself, find your own rhythm, and jump to it. Fair enough?
Great.
Let's continue. It says, be intentional about your desired outcome. So, have you ever seen a plastic bag when you're driving down the freeway and it's just sort of going everywhere? Like it hits this car, it hits that car, the wind catches it, it's all over the place. That's what I mean by sort of being intentional versus happenstance. So if we're not careful, if we're not focused on our goals in life, we're going to be like happenstance, like that plastic bag, just floating all over through life, falling or being a victim of someone else's goals. And it doesn't mean that that's not a good thing. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to achieve your goal. But if you're not intentional, it's going to take you longer to get there. So I've learned to be intentional about my desired outcome. Purposeful. And it's like being in the driver's seat versus the passenger seat. And if you're intentional about your desired outcome, so research suggests you will get there sooner than later. Okay?
Okay.
More water here. The next one of my favorites, change. So change here, the question I have here at the very bottom, it says, does change happen to you or does change happen for you? Anyone remember Alfred Hitchcock back in the day?
Yeah.
Right?
Birds.
He created this perfect movie. That's right, Alex. He had this movie called The Birds, one of my favorite movies. And I saw it as a young kid. And I remember this one particular scene. And these killer seagulls, right, flying after this one lady. And she is just running her heart out and runs into a phone booth. And she goes into the phone booth, closes the door, and she thinks she's safe, she's made it. But the birds like, and the birds start attacking this phone booth over and over again, sacrificing themselves until they broke through the phone booth, and they then attacked the woman, and to her demise, unfortunately, she was killed. Horrible event. However, when change was imposed upon me, that's how I used to feel. Why is this happening to me? Why am I being attacked? Get off of me, you killer birds. And it did not feel good. However, once I made it through that other evolution of change, I realized that I was a much better person. I've grown in some form of fashion. I learned something new that perhaps I didn't know before. I was much better. But sometimes or often we are resisting change because we're comfortable, we're okay being in the environment the way we are. Why we have these new rules, these new policies, I like the old way. But once I begin to embrace change, I become better, smarter, more effective. So it's just a different perspective of change. And if you think about the cycle of a butterfly, of course, yes, it lays an egg, it doesn't know anything, and then becomes this very interesting creature, the caterpillar, and it's just going to eat and very hungry for those 2 weeks. And then it goes into the pupa stage, it goes into this cocoon. Now what happens in that cocoon, the actual caterpillar is sort of liquefied. It turns into a liquid. Can you imagine what it's thinking? Why is this happening to me? Why? I'm dying. Sort of how we sound like when we go through change. But then once it gets through that process, it becomes the adult butterfly that we all love and enjoy today. Embrace change. If you do so, you can fly just like the butterfly. All right? Another topic here that is near and dear to my heart is active listening. So this is really important for goal achievement because it says listening, most people listen to reply versus listening to understand. Right? How many times are you talking and someone interrupts your conversation? Right? I know I do this a lot as a speaker, as a husband. My wife says, Richard, she's going to see this. Let me finish, or I haven't finished. Right? Does that sound familiar to anyone other than me? Right? So again, we are human beings and we're thought leaders and we want to make change and impact process and improve things. But often we're listening to reply versus to understand. And so I really practice what I define as active listening. Active listening, which says look interested. So I'm going to look at the person in the eye opposed to looking somewhere else. I'm going to give them my undivided attention. I'm going to inquire with questions. Can you help me understand a little bit better? What are you talking about? Let's engage into a conversation. I'm going to stay on target, right? I'm not going to start talking about another subject while they're talking about something else. I'm going to test understanding. Again, just ask questions. I'm going to elevate the message. I'm going to get engaged, get involved because I care about the mission and the goal collectively. And then finally, I'm going to neutralize your feelings. I'm going to share some empathy. I'm going to tell you that I do understand. I understand whether I agree with you or not, I should at least understand. Show a level of respect. Even though I may not go with your decision or recommendation, at least you heard me out. Fair enough? So let's do a better job in listening to understand the people that we interact with versus listening to reply because I have a better idea or suggestion. Let's continue here. The last slide here, it says, you must expect great things of yourself before you can do them. And this is a quote of Michael Jordan. Again, you have to expect great things of yourself first. Before I begin to impose this on you, I need to have a level of expectation of Richard first. And so one of my favorite quotes here, and I'm going to read it here verbatim, it said, I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost more than 300 games. On 26 occasions, I have been entrusted to take the game-winning shot. And I missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's precisely why I succeed. Failure is okay, as long as we don't quit. And so my goal here is to encourage you, yes, you have some very aggressive goals. That's only going to continue. That's not going to change. It's going to be more. As a matter of fact, I saw on one of the slides, it says donations are down. For most nonprofits, in this day and time, donations are down. I'm a member of about 5 different nonprofit organizations, and every single one, donations have taken a hit in the last 12 to 18 months. It's really amazing. And so you have to be creative. Think of unique ways to continue to generate opportunity to get donations, whether it's financially, whether it's through product and service, through the other things that you may offer in different forms of charity. Okay? And my last slide. Now, you don't have this on your handout. So as I shared with you again, I'm prior Army. And so we used to do a cadence in the morning before we go out and run, or actually doing running. And so I'm going to ask everyone to do a couple of things. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to stand. I'm going to ask you to repeat after me, and we're going to say a cadence this morning. And if you're really good, I'm going to encourage you to march in place.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's asking a lot.
Do we have that pump here? So before you, I just want to share with you how this goes before you begin to repeat after me. First, I would say, I don't know what you've been told, then you will say,
I don't know what you've been told.
LJT is good as gold.
LJT is good as gold.
Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
No? So when I say, am I right or wrong, you say, you're right.
Right.
All right. Are we weak or strong? We're
Strong.
Sound off. You say,
1, 2.
Sound off.
3, 4.
Break it on down.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2.
3, 4.
We got that? All right. Now, do you think we can march in place and do that at the same
No,
time?
this is not going to happen. They're going to fall over. Liability.
Okay. So and let's sound again a really good voice here. So let's go. I don't know what you've been told.
I don't know what you've been told.
LJT is good as gold.
LJT is good as gold.
Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
Are we weak or strong?
We're strong.
Sound off.
1, 2.
Sound off.
3, 4.
Break it on down.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2,
3, 4.
I got another table.
Thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Richard, that was great. You know, we usually don't need energy in this club. This morning, I think it was needed. It was great. It was a great message. In fact, there was a reason I brought my son today, because some of these things I try to tell him at home.
Active listening?
I think it's true, but hearing it from another person. So in honor of you speaking to us today, we made a donation to Just in Time for Foster Youth. And I have a book of quotes that I keep on my desk where I find inspiration from, and I compliment them. Thank you.
All right. Well done.
But seriously,